The metal of the gun was cold against my neck. Not my temple like in movies, my neck, right where my pulse hammered so hard I could feel it beating against the barrel. I'd taken his suitcase 4 hours ago. Clean lift at Suvarnabhumi Airport baggage claim. Black Rimowa with TSA lock and that particular scuff pattern on the corner that said expensive but well-traveled. I'd watched him take a call, turn away for maybe 20 seconds and I'd switched the tags. His onto mine, mine onto his. By the time he realized, I'd be 3 hotels away selling whatever businessmen kept in $1,500 luggage. Except now he was in my hotel room. And the suitcase was still locked. And his gun was pressing into my carotid artery hard enough that I could feel my heartbeat stuttering against the pressure. Don't move. His voice had no accent I could place. Educated. Calm. The kind of calm that came from having done this before. Don't scream. Don't do anything except breathe and listen. I was breathing. Too fast. Hyperventilating probably. The room tilted at the edges. I gripped the desk chair I'd been sitting in, checking Facebook, planning my evening, completely unaware that the last 4 hours of my life had been counting down to this exact moment. You made a very specific mistake, he continued, still behind me. Still close enough that I could smell his cologne. Something expensive. Cedar maybe. Do you understand what I mean by specific? I tried to speak. Nothing came out except a sound like air leaking from a tire. The suitcase you took. It doesn't belong to me. I'm just the courier. The people who own it, they're not forgiving. They don't accept accidents or apologies. They solve problems. Permanently. The gun shifted slightly. You've created a problem. My laptop was still open. Facebook Messenger showing a conversation with my roommate back in Sydney. Telling her about the hostel I'd found. About the street food. About how Bangkok was exactly what I needed after 6 months of the worst year of my life. Normal things. Vacation things. Things you talk about when you don't know you're about to die. I need you to answer a question, he said. And I need you to think very carefully before you lie to me because I'll know. I always know. Have you opened the suitcase? I shook my head. Barely. The gun pressed harder. Words. I need words. No. It came out as a croak. I haven't opened it. I was waiting. I usually wait until I stopped. Realized what I was admitting. Until what? Until you're sure no one's tracking it? Until you've checked into a second hotel under a different name? Something that might have been amusement crept into his voice. You're not new at this. You've done this before. 18 times before. Across 5 countries. Never caught. Never confronted. Always careful. Always smart about it. Targeting business travelers who could afford the loss. Taking things that would be written off as airline incompetence. Victimless crime, I told myself. Just taking from people who had more than they needed. How many times? He asked. I don't. The gun pressed hard enough that I gasped. How many times have you stolen luggage? 18. No, 19 if you count. I couldn't finish. Couldn't breathe properly. He was quiet for a moment. I heard him thinking. Processing. Making calculations I couldn't begin to understand. Okay, he finally said. Here's your situation. That suitcase you took contains something worth approximately $60 million. Not cash. Not jewelry. Something much worse. And the people who own it already know it's missing. They're tracking it. They'll be here? He paused. Check something. Maybe a watch. Within 45 minutes. Maybe less. The room was small. Budget hotel in Khao San Road area. Narrow bed. Plastic furniture. Window that looked out on an alley where someone was burning trash. The smell of it mixed with incense from the temple next door and my own fierce sweat. When they arrive, he continued, voice still that terrible calm, they'll kill you. Quickly if you're lucky. Slowly if they think you've seen what's inside. They'll kill me for losing it in the first place. They'll probably kill the desk clerk and anyone else who might have seen you with it just to make sure there are no witnesses. Then take it. My voice was shaking. Everything was shaking. Take the suitcase and go. Tell them it was a mistake. I didn't know. It doesn't work like that. You touched it. You created a trail. Security cameras at the airport. Hotel check-in footage. Your passport scan. All of it connects you to their property. All of it makes you a liability they can't afford to leave alive. I thought about my mother. About how she told me not to take this trip. How she'd said Bangkok was dangerous. How I'd laughed and said I could take care of myself. How she'd looked at me with that expression that said she knew I was lying but loved me enough to let me go anyway. She was going to get a call from the Australian embassy. They were going to tell her I'd died in Thailand. Probably wouldn't even tell her the real reason. Just another tourist who'd made bad choices in a foreign country. Look at me, the man said. I turned my head. Slowly. The gun stayed pressed against my neck. He was younger than his voice suggested. Maybe 35. Korean or Korean American, hard to tell. Expensive suit. The kind you get tailored in Hong Kong. Wireframe glasses. Hair styled with product. He looked like every other businessman I'd ever stolen from. Looked like someone who'd argue about hotel Wi-Fi and complain about flight delays and never, ever hold a gun to a stranger's neck. What's your name? He asked. Sophie. The lie was automatic. Sophie Martin. From Perth. Your real name. I can check your passport in about 10 seconds, so save us both the time. Olivia. Olivia Hayes. Sydney. Olivia Hayes from Sydney who steals suitcases for a living. He studied my face. How old are you? 26. Jesus. He said it quietly. Like it mattered. Like my age changed something. You should be finishing grad school. Starting a career. Getting married. Not dying in a Bangkok hotel room because you stole the wrong bag. I need the money. I don't know why I said it. Don't know why I thought he'd care. My dad got sick. Cancer. The treatment costs. Medicare doesn't cover everything. I've been sending money home. This was supposed to be one more score. Enough to help with the bills. It was half true. Dad did have cancer. At past tense. He died 4 months ago. The funeral costs had cleaned out everything I'd saved from stealing. This trip was me running away from grief and guilt and the apartment full of his things that I couldn't bring myself to sort through. The man, I still didn't know his name, pulled back the gun slightly. Not holstering it. Just giving me room to breathe. My name is Daniel, he said. Daniel Park. I've been running courier jobs for some very bad people for the last 6 years. This was supposed to be my last one. I was going to take my payment, disappear to New Zealand, buy a coffee shop, pretend I'd never spend half a decade transporting things that keep me awake at night. He walked around to face me. Sat on the edge of the bed. Gun resting on his knee. Pointed at me but casually. Like we were having a normal conversation and he just happened to be armed. But you took my suitcase, he continued. And now neither of us gets to have normal lives. Because in about 40 minutes, people are going to come through that door looking for their property. And when they don't find it, they're going to make both of us tell them where it is. And you don't have the training to resist interrogation. You'll break in minutes, and then you'll die anyway. The air conditioning unit under the window rattled and dripped. Outside, someone was shouting in Thai. Music from a bar 3 streets over. Bangkok's normal nighttime chaos. Life continuing while mine ended. What do you want from me? I asked. Daniel looked at the suitcase. It sat by the bathroom door. Innocent. Just luggage. Nothing that screamed death and danger and $60 million worth of something I couldn't even imagine. I want you to run, he said. With me. Right now. We take the suitcase, we get out of this hotel, and we find somewhere to hide until I can figure out how to return this without both of us ending up in the Chao Phraya River. Why would you help me? You could just leave. Take the suitcase. Let them find me here. Tell them I still have it somewhere. Buy yourself time. I could. He stood up. Walked to the window. Looked out at the alley. I could do that. It would be smart. Logical. Give me maybe 6 extra hours to get across the border before they figure out the truth. So why don't you? He turned. Because 6 years ago I made a choice. I needed money. Fast money. My sister was in an accident. Paralyzed from the waist down. Insurance wouldn't cover the experimental treatment in Switzerland. I was 29 and desperate and stupid. Someone offered me $50,000 to carry a package from Seoul to Manila. I took it. Didn't ask questions. Didn't think about consequences. He sat back down. That package was cash from a weapons deal. Blood money. I carried it across international borders and used it to help my sister walk again. And I told myself it was worth it. That the ends justified the means. That I could do this once and walk away. But you didn't walk away. They don't let you walk away. Once you're in, you're in. Each job pays better than the last. Each one gets you deeper. After a while you stop asking what you're carrying. Stop caring. Just do the job and take the money and try not to think about what those packages are used for. He looked at me. But I'm done. I was done the moment I realized what's in that suitcase. And I'm not adding your death to the list of things I carry. So we run. Together. Or we both die here. Those are the only options. I thought about it. About trusting a man who'd held a gun to my neck 5 minutes ago. About running deeper into danger instead of toward the nearest embassy or police station. About every instinct that said this was insane. What's in the suitcase? I asked. Do you really want to know? Yes. Daniel walked to it, knelt down, entered the combination, 8 digits, muscle memory. He barely looked at the lock. The latches popped with a sound that made me flinch. He opened it. Inside were glass vials. Maybe 60 of them. Small. Packed in foam. Each one filled with clear liquid that looked like water but obviously wasn't. Labels in what looked like Chinese or Korean. Numbers and letters I didn't understand. Viral hemorrhagic fever, Daniel said quietly. Engineered. Weaponized. Mortality rate around 90%. It's being sold to a buyer in Myanmar. Military junta. They're planning to deploy it in ethnic minority regions. Make it look like natural outbreak. Kill thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. The room went silent. Even the traffic outside seemed to fade. This is... I couldn't finish the sentence. Couldn't process what I was looking at. Genocide in a suitcase. He closed it. That's what you stole. That's what we're running with. And that's why they'll never stop hunting us unless we can get this to someone who can properly dispose of it. The police are paid off. The ones who aren't paid off don't have the facilities to handle this safely. One vial breaks, everyone in a 100-meter radius dies. This needs to go to someone with proper containment. Someone who won't just steal it and sell it to the next buyer. Do you know someone like that? Maybe. There's a doctor in Chiang Mai. Used to work for the Thai CDC. Got fired for whistleblowing about government bioweapon research. She runs a clinic in the hill country now. If anyone can destroy this safely, it's her. That's 8 hours north. Yes. And these people looking for us, they'll be searching airports, train stations, everywhere. Yes. So we're trapped. No. We're motivated. He stood up, extended his hand. We have 40 minutes. Maybe less. We need to decide right now. Run together or die separately. I looked at his hand. At the suitcase. At the window showing Bangkok's chaos. At the gun he'd tucked back into his jacket. At the impossibility of everything that had happened in the last 10 minutes. I thought about my dad. About how he'd fought cancer for 2 years with everything he had. How he'd never given up even when the doctors said there was no hope. How he'd made me promise at the end that I'd live. Really live. Not just survive. Not just steal and run and hide from anything real. This was the opposite of living. This was suicide. But leaving Daniel alone with a bioweapon felt worse than dying. I took his hand. Okay, I said. But I need you to promise me something. What? If we survive this, if we get that thing destroyed, you tell me the truth. All of it. No more lies. No more secrets. I need to know who I'm running with. Deal. We moved fast. Daniel grabbed the suitcase. I grabbed my backpack. Everything I owned in the world fit in 30 liters. We opened the door. Checked the hallway. Empty. The hotel was the kind of place where people minded their business and didn't ask questions. The stairs instead of the elevator. Down 3 flights. Daniel moved like someone who'd done this before. Checking corners. Listening. Alert but not panicked. At the ground floor he stopped. Held up a hand. Voices from the lobby. Speaking Thai. Then Korean. Then English with an accent I didn't recognize. They're here, he whispered. Already. Faster than I expected. Back door? Monitored. They'll have someone watching it. Window? He looked around. Found one in the stairwell. Painted shut. He used his elbow. The glass cracked but didn't shatter. Tried again. This time it broke. The sound was deafening in the concrete stairwell. Shouting from the lobby. Footsteps running. Go. Daniel shoved me toward the window. I'll hand you the suitcase. Then I'm right behind you. I climbed through. The window opened onto a side alley. Narrow. Filled with trash and standing water and the smell of rot. I landed hard. Ankle twisted but held. The suitcase came through. I caught it. Heavier than I expected. Daniel followed. Landed beside me just as the stairwell door crashed open. Men in suits. Guns drawn. Shouting in languages I didn't understand. We ran. Through the alley. Into Bangkok's maze of side streets that all looked the same in the dark. Left. Right. Another left. Past food carts and massage parlors and hostels with backpackers drinking beer and laughing about nothing. Behind us, the sound of pursuit. Closer than I wanted. Farther than I feared. Daniel pulled me right. Down a street so narrow we had to turn sideways. The suitcase scraped against walls. My backpack caught on something. I yanked it free and kept running. We emerged into a night market. Crowds. Tourists. Vendors selling fake designer bags and knockoff watches and pad thai in styrofoam containers. We pushed through, using people as cover, becoming invisible in the chaos. At the other end, Daniel hailed a tuk-tuk. The driver looked at us, sweating, gasping, clearly running from something, and quoted triple the normal fare. Daniel paid without arguing. We climbed in. He gave an address in Thai. The tuk-tuk merged into traffic. Bangkok's endless stream of vehicles that moved like blood through arteries. We rode in silence. Just breathing. Just being alive. After 10 minutes, Daniel told the driver to stop. We got out. But watched the tuk-tuk disappear. Then we walked 3 more blocks and caught a different one. Then a taxi. Then another tuk-tuk. Counter surveillance, Daniel explained. Make sure we're not being followed. Make sure they can't track our route. Finally we ended up in a different neighborhood. Quieter. More residential. Daniel led me to a building that looked like apartments. Used a key. We climbed to the 4th floor. Inside was a studio. Sparse. Impersonal. Furniture that came with the rental. No photos. No personal items. The home of someone who lived ready to disappear. Safe house? I asked. 1 of 3. I keep them in different parts of the city. Rent paid annually in cash. Landlords who don't ask questions. He locked the door. 3 locks. Deadbolt. Chain. Something electronic I didn't recognize. We're safe here. For now. I sat on the couch. Started shaking. Not fear this time. Adrenaline crash. The last hour catching up. I'd almost died. Was still going to die probably. Just later. In a different place. Daniel brought me water. I drank it. Hands trembling so badly some spilled. How did you get into this? I asked. Really? The truth you promised. He sat across from me. Took off his glasses. Cleaned them with his shirt. Put them back on. Delaying. Deciding how much to tell. My sister, he finally said. Minicio. She was 23. Art student. Full scholarship to RISD. Brilliant. Kind. Everything I wasn't. She was coming home for Christmas. Drunk driver ran a red light. T-boned her car. She survived but her spine didn't. He stood. Walked to the window. Looked out at Bangkok like it held answers. Insurance covered basic care. Wheelchair. Physical therapy. But there was this treatment. Experimental. They were doing amazing things with stem cells and nerve regeneration. Patients who were told they'd never walk again were walking. Running. Getting their lives back. It wasn't approved. It wasn't approved. And it cost $200,000. I was working tech support. Making $40,000 a year. Parents were dead. No other family. No way to get that money legally. So I found ways that weren't legal. The courier job. Started with smaller things. Smuggling electronics. Luxury goods. Avoiding tariffs. $5,000 here. $10,000 there. Then someone offered me the big job. $50,000 to carry a briefcase from Seoul to Manila. Don't open it. Don't ask questions. Just deliver. He turned back to me. I did it. Used the money for Minicio's treatment. She had the surgery. Spent 8 months in rehabilitation. Now she teaches art to kids in Busan. Married. Happy. Living the life she's supposed to live. And you? I kept taking jobs. Told myself it was just until I paid off the debt. Just until I had enough saved. Just one more. But it's never just one more. The money gets better. The things you're carrying get worse. And one day you wake up and realize you're not the good guy anymore. You're the villain in someone else's story. I understood that. Understood it more than I wanted to admit. My dad, I said. He got pancreatic cancer 3 years ago. Stage 4. They gave him 6 months. He made it 2 years through sheer stubbornness and experimental treatments that cost everything we had. I started stealing to help pay. Told myself it was noble. Robin Hood bullshit. Taking from rich business travelers who'd never miss it. But they did miss it. Probably. I just never stuck around to see the consequences. Never had to look at their faces when they realized. Never had to care about anything except the next score. The next paycheck. The next month's worth of medical bills. Daniel sat back down. We were quiet for a while. Just 2 people who'd made terrible choices for good reasons. Or good choices for terrible reasons. Hard to tell the difference anymore. What happened to your dad? He asked. He died. 4 months ago. The treatment stopped working. He went into hospice. I was with him at the end. He told me to stop. Stop stealing. Stop running. Stop living like I was already dead. He made me promise. Did you? I meant to. Came to Bangkok to figure out how to start over. How to be normal. How to build a life that wasn't about survival and theft and sending money home to cover bills that never stopped coming. And then you stole my suitcase. And then I stole your suitcase. I laughed. Came out broken. Turns out I'm really bad at keeping promises. If you think Olivia and Daniel deserve a chance to fix this, hit the like button so their story reaches someone who needs to hear it. Daniel checked his watch. It's almost midnight. We need to move at 4 a.m. Early enough that the roads are clear. Late enough that pursuit will have spread out looking for us. 6 hours to Chiang Mai if we drive straight through. You have a car? I have access to several cars. None registered in my name. All clean. Paid parking spots across the city. He pulled out a burner phone. Made a call. Spoke in rapid Thai. Hung up. My contact is bringing one here. 2 a.m. Toyota sedan. Nothing fancy. Nothing memorable. And then we drive north. Stay off major highways. Use back roads. Stop only for gas. Make it to Dr. Suta's clinic by mid-morning. Let her destroy this. He gestured at the suitcase. And hope we survive long enough to see it happen. I thought about arguing. About suggesting we go to the embassy or the UN or literally anyone else who might help without requiring an 8-hour drive through Thailand with a bioweapon. But Daniel was right. This wasn't something you could hand to local police. This needed someone with proper facilities. Someone who understood what they were dealing with. Someone who wouldn't accidentally kill half of Bangkok trying to contain it. Tell me about her, I said. Dr. Suta. How do you know her? I don't. Not personally. But I've heard stories. She used to run the infectious disease division at Thai CDC. Brilliant researcher. Published papers on biocontainment protocols that became international standard. Then she started asking questions about why Thailand was stockpiling certain pathogens. Why there were military facilities doing research that looked a lot like weapons development. They fired her. They destroyed her. Revoked her medical license. Spread rumors. Made sure she couldn't work anywhere legitimate. She ended up in the hill tribes running a clinic for people who can't afford real hospitals. But she still has connections. Still has access to equipment. And she's one of the few people in Southeast Asia who could handle this safely. What if she won't help? Then we're out of options. He stood. Get some sleep if you can. It's going to be a long day tomorrow. I tried. Lay on the couch with my backpack as a pillow. Closed my eyes. But every time I started to drift off, I'd see those vials. See the clear liquid that looked harmless and contained death for thousands. See my own face reflected in the glass. At 1:30 a.m. Daniel's phone buzzed. He checked it. Car's early. We should go. We took the suitcase. My backpack. Nothing else. Down the 4 flights. Out a back entrance. The car was waiting. Late model Toyota Camry. Silver. The most generic car in Southeast Asia. The driver nodded at Daniel. Handed him keys. Walked away without a word. Transaction complete. We put the suitcase in the trunk. Covered it with a blanket. Got in. Daniel drove. Bangkok at 2 a.m. was different. Quieter. The chaos replaced with emptiness. We headed north. Through neighborhoods I didn't recognize. Past temples and high-rises and street food vendors closing up for the night. At the city limits, Daniel stopped at a 7-Eleven. Bought water. Snacks. Energy drinks. Paid cash. We got back in the car. Kept driving. The highway stretched ahead. Dark. Mostly empty except for trucks making overnight runs. Thailand's countryside invisible beyond the headlight beams. Can I ask you something? I said after an hour of silence. Yeah. When you walked into my hotel room. When you put that gun to my neck. Were you going to kill me? Daniel was quiet for a long time. Just drove. Watched the road. Finally, I don't know. I'd convinced myself I could. That you were just collateral damage. That your death was acceptable if it meant protecting myself. I had the safety off. Finger on the trigger. All I had to do was squeeze. What stopped you? You asked if you could say goodbye to your mother. In your head. You said you wanted a few seconds to think about her before you died. He glanced at me. And I realized you were a real person. Not just an obstacle. Not just a problem to solve. A real person with a mother who loved her. And I couldn't do it. Couldn't add that to everything else I'm carrying. Thank you. For not killing me. Don't thank me yet. We're not safe. Won't be safe until this is destroyed and we're both far away from it. We drove through darkness. Hours blurred. Small towns appeared and disappeared. Rest stops. Gas stations. The occasional truck stop with fluorescent lights and instant noodles and bathrooms that smelled like the world's end. At 4:30 a.m. we stopped. Daniel needed to sleep. We pulled into a truck stop parking lot. Reclined the seats. I took first watch. Sat there watching the road. Watching for headlights that slowed down. Watching for anything that looked like pursuit. Nothing. Just trucks. Just normal people doing normal jobs. Just Thailand waking up to another day. Daniel woke at 6 a.m. We switched. I tried to sleep. Managed maybe 45 minutes of restless half-consciousness. Woke to sun streaming through the windshield and the smell of instant coffee from the 7-Eleven next door. We drove. The countryside turned mountainous. Rice paddies gave way to forests. The air got cooler. Less humid. Everything green and lush and beautiful in ways that felt wrong given what we were carrying. At 9:30 a.m. we reached Mae Rim. Small town. Tourist infrastructure. Elephant sanctuaries and cooking classes and the kind of wholesome activities that felt like they belonged to a different universe than the one we were living in. Dr. Suta's clinic was another 10 kilometers into the hills. We followed GPS down progressively smaller roads until we reached what looked like a village. Maybe 200 people. Chickens wandering freely. Kids playing soccer. Women washing clothes in a stream. The clinic was a concrete building. Single story. Red Cross symbol painted on the side. Solar panels on the roof. Vegetable garden out front. We parked. Got out. Daniel carried the suitcase. A woman emerged from the clinic. 60s. Gray hair tied back. Wearing jeans and a faded t-shirt. She looked at us. At the suitcase. Back at us. "You're 4 years too late," she said in perfect English. "Or 4 years too early. Can't decide which." "Dr. Suda Bunark?" Daniel asked. "That's what my medical degree used to say. Before they revoked it. Now I'm just Suda. Village doctor. Grower of tomatoes. Occasional thorn in the government's side." She gestured at the suitcase. "What's in it?" "Marburg variant. Weaponized. About 60 doses. We need you to destroy it. Safely. Before more people die." She studied us. "Who are you?" "No one," Daniel said. "Just people trying to do the right thing for once." "The right thing." She laughed. "The right thing would have been not creating it in the first place. But I suppose that ships sailed with Unit 731 and every weapons lab since." She opened the clinic door. "Bring it inside. Carefully. If one of those vials breaks, we all die screaming within 48 hours. We carried the suitcase inside. The clinic was small. Exam table. Basic medical equipment. Shelves of medications. Everything clean but worn. The healthcare system's cast-offs repurposed for people the system had abandoned. Dr. Suda opened the suitcase. Examined the vials with reading glasses perched on her nose. Picked one up. Held it to the light. Set it down gently. "North Korean manufacture," she said. "I can tell by the labeling system. They've been developing hemorrhagic fever variants for 15 years. This is sophisticated. Aerosolized transmission. Incubation period between 8 and 12 hours. Mortality rate somewhere around 90% with no treatment." "Can you destroy it?" I asked. "I can. I have an autoclave. Incineration protocols. But it takes time. 12 hours minimum to ensure everything is completely neutralized. And if the people who own this are looking for you, staying here that long is suicide. We don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Usually just bad ones and worse ones." She pulled out her phone. "I'm going to call someone. Dr. James Chin. Works for WHO in Bangkok. Specializes in bioweapon containment. If I can get this to him, properly documented, it becomes evidence. International investigation. Your employers go down. The whole supply chain gets exposed." "That puts you at risk," Daniel said. "I've been at risk since I started asking questions. Might as well make it count." She was already dialing. "You two need to leave. Different directions. Make them choose who to chase. Give yourselves a chance. We can't just leave you with." "Yes, you can. This is my choice. My fight. I've spent 4 years in exile watching people die from diseases that could be prevented if governments cared more about people than weapons. This is my chance to actually stop something. Don't take that from me." She spoke rapid Thai into the phone. Then English. Technical terminology I didn't understand. Coordinates. Protocols. Instructions. She hung up. "Dr. Chin will be here in 4 hours with a proper containment team. Military escort. Full biohazard protocols. This becomes official. Evidence. Public record. And us." I asked. "You disappear. Separately. He goes west toward Myanmar border. You go south toward Malaysia. Different routes. Different countries. Make it hard for them to track both of you. Daniel pulled money from his jacket. Several stacks of Thai baht. Maybe 200,000 worth. For the clinic. For helping. For the risk. Dr. Suda looked at the money. Blood money. Yes. But it can do good anyway. That's how redemption works. She took it. Go. No. You've already been here too long. We walked outside. The village was waking up fully now. More kids playing. Someone cooking rice. Normal life continuing around us. At the car, Daniel turned to me. This is where we split up. I head west. You head south. We never contact each other again. Never acknowledge this happened. Just disappear into different lives. What will you do? Find my sister. Tell her the truth. Everything. Hope she doesn't hate me. Probably fail. He smiled sadly. What about you? Go home. Sydney. Face my dad's apartment. Sort through his things. Figure out how to be normal. Probably fail too. We stood there. Two strangers who'd run through hell together. Who'd carried death across Thailand. Who'd made choices that would haunt us forever. I'm sorry, Daniel said. For holding a gun to you. For dragging you into this. For all of it. I'm sorry for stealing your suitcase. That part one forgive. He extended his hand. In another life we could have been friends. In another life we wouldn't have needed to be. I shook his hand. Then he got in the car. Drove away. Disappeared around a curve in the road. Gone. I stood there for a minute. Then I started walking. Down the mountain. Toward the main road. Toward whatever came next. A truck stopped. Hill tribe farmer heading to market. Offered me a ride. I climbed in the back with crates of vegetables and chickens in wicker cages. We drove down the mountain toward civilization. At the bus station I bought a ticket to Bangkok. Then another to Malaysia. Then a flight to Singapore. Then another to Sydney. Using the last of my cash. Using the last of my criminal skills to disappear one final time. Subscribe if you believe people who've done terrible things can still choose to be better. I landed in Sydney on a gray morning. Rain on tarmac. Home but not home. The city I'd left 2 years ago to escape grief. Immigration barely looked at my passport. I walked through customs expecting alarms. Expecting arrest. Expecting consequences. Nothing. Just normal re-entry. Welcome home. I took a bus to my apartment. The one I'd been avoiding. The one still full of Dad's things. I'd been paying rent from stolen money while living in hostels across Asia. I unlocked the door. Inside was a museum of his life. Books. Photos. The chair he'd sat in during chemo. The blanket he'd used in hospice. All of it exactly where I'd left it the day after his funeral. I spent 3 days sorting. Crying. Boxing things for donation. Keeping the important pieces. His watch. His favorite mug. The photo of him and Mom on their wedding day. On the 4th day I got a job. Warehouse work. Loading trucks. Minimum wage. Honest money. It felt strange. Novel. Like I'd forgotten what legitimate income looked like. I paid my rent. Bought groceries. Lived a normal life. It was boring. Terrifying. Perfect. 6 months later, I enrolled in community college. Nursing program. If I was going to spend my life around suffering, might as well try to reduce it. It was hard. Night classes after 10-hour shifts. Being the oldest student. Facing professors who expected dedication I wasn't sure I had. But hard was good. Hard meant growing. 2 years after Bangkok I graduated. Got hired at Royal Prince Alfred Hospital. Emergency department. Night shift. The chaos. The overdoses. The stabbings. The car accidents. All the ways people broke. I was good at it. The pressure. The split-second decisions. The controlled chaos. Turned out stealing suitcases and running from bioweapon dealers translated well to emergency medicine. I never stole anything again. Not a pen. Not supplies. Not even when it would have been easy. Every time I was tempted, I'd remember those vials. Remember how close we'd come to catastrophe. Remember that some mistakes don't get second chances. One night, 3 years after Bangkok, we got a stabbing victim. Critical. Mal. Late 30s. Ishan. Multiple wounds. I started the 4. Applied pressure. Did my job. Didn't look at faces until we'd stabilized him. Then I looked. Daniel Park. Older. Thinner. Scars I didn't remember. But unmistakably him. He was unconscious. The stab wounds had missed major organs but he'd lost a lot of blood. Lucky. Or unlucky depending on perspective. His chart said David Chin. Canadian passport. No emergency contacts. I stood there, staring at this ghost from my past bleeding on my table. The attending asked if I knew him. I said no. Finished my shift. Went home. Stared at my ceiling until dawn. The next night I checked his status. Stable. Recovering. I went to his room. He was awake, staring at nothing. "Hello, Olivia," he said without looking at me. "David," I corrected. "Right. David Chin. Good choice. Generic. Forgettable." He turned his head. "Small world. What happened? You can't really leave." "Not completely. The people I worked for, they have long memories. Longer reach. I thought I'd gotten far enough. Thought they'd forgotten. I was wrong. They'll try again. Probably. But I'm tired of running. Rather die being honest than survive being a ghost." I pulled up a chair. We sat in silence. Just breathing. Just being alive. "Did Dr. Suda destroy it?" I asked. "Made international news. WHO investigation. 17 arrests across 6 countries. 3 bioweapon labs shut down. Saved an estimated 100,000 lives according to their projections." He smiled weakly. "We did good. Finally. We almost killed millions. But we didn't. We chose better. That's what matters." The heart monitor beeped. "Steady. Alive." "What now?" I asked. "Recover. Try again. Be better." He looked at me. "You? Keep doing this. Saving people. Making up for the damage. That's good. You're good at it." I stood. "I should go." "Olivia." "Yeah. I'm glad you made it. Glad you became someone your dad would be proud of." "I'm trying." I left. Finished my shift. 2 days later, David Chin checked out. Vanished from the system. I never saw him again. But sometimes I think about Bangkok. About jumping from windows and carrying death through paradise. About Dr. Suda turning evil into evidence. About second chances coming from worst mistakes. I think about the people I save now. The overdoses I reverse. The bleeding I stop. Every patient is a chance to balance the scales. I'll never be clean. Never be innocent. But I can be useful. I can be better than I was. I'm Olivia Hayes. Former thief. Current nurse. Forever grateful that the wrong suitcase led me to the right life. And somewhere, Daniel Park is hopefully finding his own redemption. His own version of better. We stole the wrong suitcase. But maybe it stole us back from who we'd become. Maybe that's the point of grace. It finds you when you're looking the other way. If this story reminded you that redemption is possible, leave a like so I know to tell more stories like this.